This is a Gear Network production.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Mr. Perez, and you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, brought to you exclusively on Gear Network. Listen in.
Welcome to Better Live Than Dead, everybody. I'm your host, Ryan Wolf, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Perez.
Hello. How's everybody doing today?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Well, you know, it's I normally say the ladies and gentlemen, but it's at the beginning of the podcast now as part of the introduction, so I'm still working on my new, catchphrase.
Just practice your white people introductions.
Why, hello, everybody.
Good afternoon there.
How are you doing?
Okay, anyways, we have a special guest today.
We do?
We're not going to tell you who it is.
Who is it?
You know why?
Why?
Because there's this thing called a tease, and we're going to be teases.
You tease.
Like Jennifer Lawrence naked on the internet, we are teasing you.
Wow.
Had to throw that in there.
Well, yes.
Sorry.
I'm going to keep my comments to myself.
You better, because if not, we're going to be here for 45 minutes before we get to the interview with our special guest. So we're going to have to cut you off because our special guest is on a tight schedule today. So
okay, cool.
After these commercial breaks that are so nicely placed,
I didn't know we had a special guest.
we will be joined by a special guest and take a wild guess what we're going to be talking about today, Perez.
I'm going to guess the NFL.
The National Football League started Thursday, but really starts tomorrow. Who cares about the Seahawks and the Packers?
Hey, that was a Seahawks look. Okay, anyway.
It was a gorgeous game, for sure. But we're going to go to commercial break right now. When we come back, we will be joined by a very special guest.
Stay tuned.
While you're listening to this podcast, make sure you follow us on social media. You can follow me at WolfSHC on Twitter. You can also follow Mr. Perez at MRLG Perez. Make sure to like the podcast on Facebook. That's Facebook.com/BLTD Podcast. And make sure to follow Gear Network on Twitter at GERE Network.
A successful product does not become a successful product on its own. Look at the Gear Radio Network, for example. We're a prime example. We had a lot of help getting here, and we can help you get where you want to go to. Advertising rates are very low to start off here on the Gear Radio Network. Visit us at gearnetwork.com. Click on the contact link to send us an email, and we can work out the details. Again, advertise your product across all of the forums at a low, low rate here on the Gear Radio Network.
Better Live Than Dead on the Gear Radio Network.
And we're back from commercial break, as you may be able to tell.
Hello.
We can now tell you the identity of our special guest.
Hey, he just walked in.
He's been here for about 20 minutes.
I know.
He's trying to do it for aesthetic purposes, just making things. You hear that? He knocked at the door. Okay, anyways. To my left, just for visual purposes, the CEO and founder of the Gear Network and host of Talking Wrestling with JC Money, JC Money.
How's it going, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Jason Woody. And I'm here to tell you that I'm on the Better Live Than Dead podcast with Ryan Wolf and the other Mr. Perez. And let me tell you about Mr. Perez. He's sitting there right now laughing. All I have to do is just say words in his voice, and it's funny. Like, look at this room right now. It has walls. It has drums.
It does have drums.
It has a guitar. And you know what else it has? Mr. Perez.
That's a true story.
Happy to be here. How's it going?
Glad to have you. Finally get you here and get you on a podcast.
Indeed.
Now, as we mentioned before the break, the National Football League season started Thursday night when the Seattle Seahawks
trounced,
whooped the asses of the Green Bay Packers.
That's putting it very mildly.
While the season has started already, we can't podcast on a Wednesday night because we're adults. We have grown-up things to do. We have families, jobs.
What do you have to do?
I have a job.
You do?
I clean the house.
Okay.
I don't have kids. If I had kids, man, it would be a scary world to live in, okay?
I don't have kids. Well, I don't have kids.
Listen, I have kids, and yeah, it's a scary world to live in.
Well, Brad, I just have enough. I have enough trouble taking care of myself. Let's just put it that way. That's why I tell everybody when everyone says, "Well, your brother's got kids. Why don't you have kids?" I'll say, "Well, because I can't take care of myself."
Well, that's why I married a white girl.
Don't you need a girlfriend, anyways?
Well, yeah, that would be true.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
Moving right along.
JC may be the first guest to ever be kicked out of the Better Live Than Dead podcast before he's even finished with the interview.
You know what?
You raised a valid point, though.
Hey, listen, you know what? I'm sorry. There's a first for everything. I mean, I pissed off an Army veteran at a show years ago, had him wanting to come over the guardrail after me.
Why not? Why don't I get kicked out of a podcast that's going to be broadcast exclusively on my own network? I mean,
It's all about the PR. It's all
that's
about the
right.
PR.
That's right. Oh,
Now-
by the way, speaking of PR, can I do a quick plug?
Help yourself.
I would like to just say that
Wait, are you gonna announce your guest?
I'm going to announce my
Don't.
guest. No?
We're holding that for the final segment.
Oh, dag
trying to ruin the show.
Oh, okay.
He's going into business for himself over here.
Well,
That's what wrestlers do.
Help you, help us, help everybody, and you're like, I'm just going to take the show over.
Did you plug the Amazon page yet?
There's a commercial for that.
Okay, good.
That's why we go to commercial breaks. Anyways, back on track, everybody.
all right.
We're talking NFL here today, and we're going to have a little bit of a fun segment here. First time we've had kind of a triangle, not a round table, a triangle table, if you will.
If you will.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
We're going to talk about the AFC first off because, well, it doesn't really seem as if much will change this season compared to last season, but we'll start off with the AFC East. I've got the New England Patriots. John, who are you going with?
I as well, as much as it pains me to say this, I do go with the New England Patriots as well to take the East. I mean, the AFC East, when you boil right down to it, you've got the New England Patriots and everybody else. I'm a Jets fan, diehard Jets fan. You yourself, you're a Bills fan.
They're so good.
You know,
Yeah.
and then of course there's the Dolphins, who
Their
my wife likes
quarterback's
for some
awesome.
reason. But I mean, the fact of the matter is it's been Tom Brady, Bill Belichick's division, and they
Forever.
upgraded the defense with the addition of Darrelle Revis.
Well, not just upgraded, but all the kids that they have gotten better.
Right, and Belichick is a defensive-minded coach.
That's why I took their defense on my fantasy football team.
Good for you.
Well, that was probably.
You've got Shane Vereen, who is not just a threat as a running back, but also a hands receiver too.
Yep.
And you know what it's really going to boil down to, whether or not it's a 13-3 season or an 11-5, is whether or not Rob Gronkowski is actually healthy this year.
Well, yeah, because you have all the young receivers like Aaron Dobson and Kenbrell Tompkins who were rookies last year, and they're just guys that picked off late draft, and you develop them, and it's not very hard to be a good wide receiver with Tom Brady as at the helm. But like you said, Rob Gronkowski, if he stays healthy, God, I hope he does, because I took him as Perez. I'm gonna throw a little plug. I took him in a fantasy football league. 15th round, just a shot in the dark. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But Perez, who you got?
I also have the Patriots.
Wow,
Unanimous decision right here.
surprised.
Yeah, no doubt.
Moving to the north now, which is actually an interesting topic, and we'll go. How about this? A new idea. We'll go backwards. So one to JC, one to Perez, and we'll just come back around. I've got the Bengals in the AFC North. I'm not sold on the Steelers or Ravens. They finished 8-8 last season, but Perez, who you got?
I have the Baltimore Ravens. They picked up a couple people during the draft that I think make their defense a little better. I think that their offense will be a little sharper than it was last year. And I don't think that, while the Bengals is a good pick, I don't think they did anything really special to help themselves out this offseason.
But did they? But did they have to?
Yeah, I think they did.
They won the division last year. They won 10 games last year?
Yeah, but they were in a division where no one was really spectacular, and then they got to the playoffs and didn't do anything.
Well, that's why I'm not sold on the Steelers in Baltimore, because did Pittsburgh...
Well, the Steelers are going to have a bad year this year.
Did Pittsburgh do enough to upgrade to be a
No.
playoff team, and did Baltimore do enough to win more than 8 games?
Well, I think Baltimore did. That's why I went with Baltimore.
I think the loss of Ray Rice, as we've discussed previously, plus the offense is reliant on too little amount of people.
Yeah, I think they're going to surprise you, though.
Okay.
It's
That's what this podcast is for, so we can listen to it in February, and you can tell me I'm an idiot.
It's a weak division.
It is a very weak division, and for that reason, and that reason alone, I have the Cleveland Browns. Kidding. Cincinnati Bengals, seriously though, because Andy Dalton, AJ Green, they are a great. I don't want to say great as in like greatest of all time or anything like that, but they are really good. They mesh really well together. The Bengals also released. What's his name?
Ben Jarvis Green
Ben
Ellis.
Jarvis Green Ellis, right? And because Ben Tate.
I'm so glad my name's not Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
Giovanni Bernard.
Giovanni Bernard, rather. Ben Tate. Who is he? Is he
Cleveland.
in Cleveland? I said Cleveland.
You're still
That's
on
my first
Cleveland. You're
pick.
still in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still in Cleveland.
No, I think Gio Bernard is.
Gio Bernard is good.
X
The
factor.
defense is solid. Marvin Lewis is definitely the glue that keeps that team together. So I've got Cincinnati, but again, I've got them at the same record, 10 wins that they did last year.
Going on to the
South.
AFC South. Yeah, I'm looking. I got it right in front of me.
It's all good.
I got books with highlights and everything, man. I'm serious. I take this job seriously.
I got my cell phone.
Got the I've got the Indianapolis Colts for obvious reasons with the Titans, with the Jaguars, and with the Texans. It doesn't seem like there's much competition.
I'm with you on that. Indianapolis takes that division rather easily. I mean, if the Jacksonville Jaguars go with the plan that they claim that they're going to go with, which is to sit Blake Bortles for the entire season and then start him next year, which is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
By the way. But if they plan on doing that, then they're essentially just throwing in the towel for the whole season because Chad Henne is Chad Henne. He's not good. He's not bad, but he's not great. He's not elite. He's not going to make that team any better behind the center than he already is.
He's spectacular.
I think Toby Gerhart could have a decent season out of the backfield, his first full season away from Adrian Peterson. But
he could. But
besides that, there's really
there's nothing else there. Then you talk about the Texans and their acquisition of Ryan Mallett, but he's not starting immediately either. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick there too. So
I think what I wrote down on my paper is that I don't see enough change in the AFC to warrant any playoff team being different, and you'll see that when we talk about the wild cards. But the one team that could potentially be 8-8 or 9-7 and get into the playoffs. Well, I don't even think 8-8 or 9-7 get to in the playoffs, but a team that could surprise and make a run for the playoffs could be Houston because their defense is J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney up front. I mean, that right there is a good start to a good defense, and they don't have a bad defense. The thing that really did them wrong last season was their offense.
And that was surprising because they have a lot of powerhouses on their offense. Well, I don't know exactly what happened last year. I don't know if it was a coaching disconnect, but I think that if they get their act together, they could be very dangerous in that division.
I think it was a mix of Arian Foster not being healthy and Matt Schaub being ineffective before he just I don't remember if he got hurt last year, if they just benched him, but ineffectiveness from that and then Arian Foster being hurt really just hurt them. And then
not to mention Kubiak being fired.
Yep.
Right. But if they get their act together, I say that they could probably take the division. But right now, I have the Colts.
Well, the thing is, you've got to be better than Andrew Luck, and I don't.
And that's going to be difficult.
Yeah. Looking at the West, I don't think we need to spend any time on this one. If you've got anybody but the Broncos,
no, I'm Denver.
I mean, what do you?
Who are the Broncos? No, I'm just playing. I got the Broncos.
Okay, because I was figuring we can. Spend
I think Peyton Manning's pissed.
I think we can figure. I figured we can spend more time in the wild card because that'll be more exciting than sitting here shining Peyton Manning's sack and telling him how good he is because I'm sure he knows he's very good.
Yeah, but I think that embarrassment in the Super Bowl put a fire under his butt, and he's going to come out this year and just destroy.
They added more weapons for him.
Yeah, it's going to be disgusting.
They upgraded the defense. You know, the Broncos, they're the team to beat, especially in the West.
Looking at the wild card, again, like I said before, I've got nothing changing. So I've got the Chiefs and the Chargers. Chiefs still being a damn good team. The only reason they didn't win the division was because of the Broncos, with the Broncos being so good. And then I've got the San Diego Chargers, who were late bloomers last season, but I really expect them to be even better this season.
Well, you know what? I'm going to agree with you on one. Kansas City. Okay. Kansas City is the first wild card team because, like you said, Jamal Charles, Alex Smith just inked a 4-year deal.
It's a perfect situation.
They are a very, very good team. They are on the up and up. And my second wild card team, and I'm not saying this because I'm a fan, but I think those New York Football Jets surprise everybody, finish 9-7. Make their way into the wild card where they get completely curb stomped by New England or Indy.
You're just fanboying it right now. The Jets aren't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think I honestly and again, you can have your own opinion because that's what the podcast is for. But I think the Chargers have to win at least 10 games to make the playoffs. I
got to say this. Okay, there's some holes. There's some holes in the Jets' defense, especially at cornerback. Nice job there.
Gaping holes.
There's some holes in the cornerback, but they did upgrade.
Ryan, you and I could score on the Jets.
Probably.
And I'm fat.
I don't think you could score on the
Jets.
I
could score.
I
score a lot.
But in any event, they upgraded their offense with the additions of Chris Johnson, Eric Decker, and Michael Vick.
Well, the thing is,
I think will be starting by about week 4.
The thing is that if they can get the ball to Eric Decker, I mean, if Geno Smith can not throw a ton of interceptions and they can, and Chris Johnson can return to not even 2,000-yard form, but maybe 1,300 or 1,400-yard form, they might be able to sneak out a few close wins and get that 8 or 9 wins. But like I said, I don't think nine wins is going to put anybody in the playoffs in the AFC.
I have the Kansas City Chiefs getting in there like everyone else, but my other pick will be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh year after year, and I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers as a Dallas Cowboy fan. I can't stand them. But year after year, they find a way to put together a good team and make that run during the year to get them in playoff contention. I think this year they're going to get there. I don't think they're going to advance to the playoffs, but I think they'll sneak in over the Jets.
I think they might be better, but I'll tell you what, the offensive coordinator for the Steelers, Todd Haley, until he's gone, I don't think that team's going to do anything offensively.
I don't think so either. Todd Haley didn't do a good job as a Kansas City head coach.
He was great. I think it was it Arizona. He was the offensive coordinator. He was either the offensive coordinator in Arizona or Kansas City. Wherever the other one place he was the coach, one place he was the offensive coordinator.
I'm thinking it was Arizona.
I think so. He was a terrible head coach, and then he comes to Pittsburgh, and him and Ben Roethlisberger are fighting on the sidelines, and
well, he just wanted Ben to stop going out with people. They're just
an absolute mess. I mean, the defense is old. The offense is lost.
He didn't want Ben to have sex in bathrooms.
I think this era of Pittsburgh Steelers tough football is done.
I mean, the reason they won the Super Bowl, I mean, their head coach is a good head coach, but it seems like it was one of those, we've got good guys on the talent of their career who know how to win football games, and they did. But, I mean, now they're just trying to find an identity again, and it's struggling.
It is going to be bad. It's going to be, but I think they're going to make it in. I think they're going to squeak it in.
Moving on to the NFC East now. I'm sure we all know who Perez is going to pick, but I personally have the Eagles. I mean, Chip Kelly is the man. He's got weapons on top of weapons on top of weapons. Another year with his offense being installed. I mean, I don't see a reason why the Eagles won't win the East.
I agree with you. I actually had Philadelphia as well. And not only do I have Philadelphia, I have them running away with the division because of the aforementioned weapons on top of weapons, Chip Kelly's offense, Nick Foles. He's not going to be 28 touchdowns to 2 interceptions.
But he'll get the ball out.
But he will get the ball out there. They got playmakers. I think that the Philadelphia Eagles easily win this division.
JC, before you let Perez talk, can you please give me a Perez impression picking the Dallas Cowboys?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Perez.
I got to start every Perez impression with that.
If Perez, whenever you talk to Perez, if he doesn't say "ladies and gentlemen," you can't. It's not Perez.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Perez, and for my pick in the NFC East, I choose out of Arlington, Texas, the Dallas Cowboys. Because Tony Romo can throw the ball, and Des Bryant can catch the ball. And that's all you need in the grand scheme of things.
Don't forget about their defense.
Sure, their defense
sucks.
Is worse than the Jets. I could score on their defense.
Probably.
The Jets' defense could score on the Cowboys' defense.
Probably.
But they're still the Dallas Cowboys. They got the star. They got Tony Romo, who can throw the ball.
He can throw the ball.
And Des Bryant, who can catch the ball.
He can catch the ball.
I'm out.
Okay, Perez, now what do you think?
No, I do think the Cowboys are going to actually take that division. The problem with the Eagles is, yes, they do have talent upon talent upon talent, but they just, last season, if you look at them, they imploded upon each other. They couldn't get the job done, and I don't think they've made enough changes to correct that issue. So I think it's going to be a tight race, but I think they're going to implode.
Then instead of you telling me the Cowboys, I want you to tell me what you think the Cowboys did this offseason to become a player, to take the hump from 8-8. Because remember, ever since Jason Garrett's been coached,
the problem with the Cowboys is they made some good moves on offense. They drafted well, but the defense sucks. Let's not lie. They're going to have to get into shootouts to win games, and I think
pretty
with the
much
talent,
like last year.
Yeah, but what I think with the talent that they have on offense, they're gelled a little more. I think they'll be able to win those shootouts. The defense will do just enough to win them enough games to eke into the playoffs. I don't think they're going to run away with the division. I don't think anyone's going to really run away with the division. I don't think, obviously, the Giants don't have the weapons to do it. Last year's performance by Eli Manning was just horrendous.
And Eli can't stop throwing the ball to the other team.
Right, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I don't think RG3 is going to get the Redskins anywhere. I like RG3. He has all the talent in the world, but he's too fragile.
With that offense, they might be able, especially with the addition of Deshaun Jackson. I never thought about it.
I have to say this. With RG3, it's like they're trying to work him into being a pocket passer.
And he's not a pocket passer.
He's not a pocket passer. No. Honestly, if you look at him, if you really watch game film, RG3 is not a passer. He's essentially Santonio Holmes.
Right.
Behind center.
Exactly.
Is what he is.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is the better quarterback of the two. Is Kirk Cousins elite? I don't know.
It's just RG3 is more dynamic. He gives them better opportunity. He may not be. He's not going to put up 300.
He can create plays with his
exactly,
feet.
But he's dynamic enough where he can win enough games.
He has not been the same since his injury in the rookie season. And I think that was I honestly think, and I like RG3.
It's fun to watch.
I like RG3. I think it was a one and done year for him.
Well, remember. Sorry to interrupt you, but remember when he came into the league and they said he's got probably 10 years. If that, because his knees were so bad coming in, then he got hurt the first season. So,
well, his coach didn't really help that situation.
Mike Shanahan. I mean, it's Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, he should have pulled him.
You remember the game film from the Super Bowl back in the late '90s when Terrell Davis came off the field and said, "I've got a migraine. I can't see anything." He says, "Cool, just go out there and I just need you to run straight." Yeah. He put him back in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't take RG3 out until his knee bent the wrong way and he couldn't get off the field.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, the Washington football team is, and I'm not calling them by their name.
You did already.
If I did, I apologize.
Why aren't you going to call them the Redskins?
Because it's terrible.
How is that terrible?
Because they're terrible.
Do we really want to have this conversation?
We're not having this conversation now.
No, you know what? I want to have this conversation.
We gotta make it quick because we gotta get the rest of this done.
Listen, what's wrong with the name?
It's a racial slur.
How's it a racial slur? I know Native Americans. I am partially Native American.
Me too. I'm a quarter.
My mother
Native.
is Native American.
I'm a 1/4% Native American myself.
You know who doesn't care? Me and my mother and every other Native American I know.
Here's the thing. The Redskins have been the Redskins for 75 years.
Right.
Well, they're mad now.
And
now all of a sudden?
Nowadays, with all this political correctness and people, getting sticks up their behind for the stupidest stuff, all of a sudden you got to change the name. You see people asking the Cleveland Indians to change their name?
No, but have you seen what the Cleveland Indians have done? They've completely gotten rid of the Indian logo and now just use the C as their primary logo. Because
and that's stupid.
It's to the point where it's not necessarily political correctness, but it's.
First of all, the Cleveland Indians. We're talking about NFL, but the Cleveland Indians, because they're the Indians, they should actually be have a red dot in their forehead because the Native Americans are not Indians.
He's got a valid point.
He's going to get this show kicked off the air, isn't he?
How's he going to get it kicked off the air? It's on the internet.
Christopher Columbus took a left when he should have took a right. He showed up, and he was like, "Is this India?" And they were like, "No." And he was like, "Yeah, this is India." And they were like, "No."
He's like, "Hey, you're Indian."
And he was like, "Yeah, this is India."
On the next week of Better Live Than Dead, we're going to have a historian here to break this down for us. No, I'm just saying. I think in this day and age. There's enough backlash that they probably there's
enough backlash by white people.
There was a hockey team in North Dakota, the North Dakota Fighting Sioux, that it got so bad that the school was forced to change their name and logo.
Yeah, not by Native Americans.
Yes, by Native Americans.
Yeah, it's all you crazy white people doing this.
It's not crazy white people. It's Native Americans.
I mean, it's not like you have a baseball team out there called the Hispanic. I'm not even going to say the racial slur. But
I know, because we're just going to be throwing racial slurs at each other for half an hour, and no one's going to listen, and then our podcast is going to die before it even gets started.
Oh, it's all right. I could just press F7 and
there you go.
And censor it like I do at Talking Wrestling.
Just beep
all right,
for
come on,
25 minutes.
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's go to the NFC North now.
Thank you.
I've got the Chicago Bears. Just because, and I mean, even after watching the Packers play on Thursday night, it further validates what I think. The second year under Mark Trestman, there's more confidence. They've got Alshon Jeffrey, they've got Brandon Marshall, and they've got Jay Cutler. While Jay Cutler may not be that elite quarterback, he does provide the greatest internet memes in quarterbacking, besides Eli Manning. But Jay Cutler smoking is pretty good meme. He's good enough.
That's going to get him right into the playoffs. Those memes.
Yeah. Well, he's shut up, Perez. Jay Cutler, I think, is good enough with Alshon Jeffrey, Matt Forte, Brandon Marshall. Martellus Bennett. That defense, I don't, doesn't really excite me, but did not surprise me. It doesn't excite me, but they're good enough offensively in that division to win enough games to win the division.
From the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, I have the Green Bay Packers. Although I have to agree with your assessment of the Chicago Bears, they are going to be better this year. I just think that Green Bay has a much better quarterback who will find ways to win more games.
Again, it's like the Dallas Cowboys problem. They have to not allow.
Yeah, but nobody
more
in
than
that
score.
division really has a great defense, including the Chicago Bears. So I think Green Bay will eke it out just a little more than the Bears.
If it comes down to who is a better offense wins the division, it's the Bears.
Yeah, no, I don't.
You
agree
just
with
said
you
yes.
there. Yeah, well, I thought you said the Packers. I don't agree with you.
I have to agree with Perez over here. I had Green Bay before the first game.
He's a hipster, ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen. A Green Bay Packers hipster.
Yes, I had Green Bay before the game in Seattle. Despite what happened, I have Green Bay still winning the division after that first game, and it is for those said reasons. The Bears' defense is not good. Okay, their offense is good, but their defense is not good. And you got Aaron Rodgers playing that defense twice.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers, rather consistent. Cutler, not so much.
Yeah.
But the thing is it really could be anybody's division there.
Right.
Detroit's pretty tough as well. But I think just from what I see on paper, Green Bay ekes it out.
Yeah, Detroit finds a way to shoot themselves in the foot.
Well, from
every
judging
year.
what Jim Caldwell has done, I don't have enough confidence in Jim Caldwell's head coaching to say Detroit can make the playoffs.
Well, we'll see how that turns out because Jim Caldwell's first stint, he had Peyton Manning.
Right.
That's also true.
And
Plus,
frankly,
I mean,
He's going from Peyton Manning to Matthew
you have
Stafford.
to remember too, in his college career, he did not have a very good coaching career, and
Right.
he was just one of those guys that was in the Colts system, and they said, "Well, you're the next guy in line, so it's your job."
Pretty much.
And frankly, Thursday, Green Bay kind of came out flat. And Seattle came out looking like they were ready to win another Super Bowl.
When they're all, when Brian Bulaga got hurt, that really threw him for a loop too.
Right.
So we'll see. I'll talk more about the Packers in a little bit. Going to the NFC South now. An interesting note before I mention who I'm picking. Since the inception of the NFC South in 2002, no team has won the division back to back. Usually, so statistically, you would think the Falcons, because it's usually the worst team always ends up winning the division, or a bad team wins the next year. I can't make this up. It's just how it's worked out. But with that being said, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. They kind of disappointed a little last year, but I think they're going to be better this year. I mean, that offense is amazing. Defense got Jarvis Bird, got a little better. Drew Brees is just Drew Brees. I mean, you can't argue against that.
I'm going to agree with you again. And New Orleans is my pick simply because Drew Brees, Jimmy Graham. Enough said.
Marquise Colston.
Marquise
They got
Colston.
Brandon Cooks.
And not to mention the defense behind Rob Ryan.
Oh, God.
Pretty solid defense. I think New Orleans takes it.
He may be a nutbag, but I'll tell you what, that guy can coach a defense.
Sure can.
When given the players, 'cause I know with Dallas it was kind of wish-wash, but when he's given the players and not given guys who are over the hill.
Well,
and
Dallas's problems are far exceed
Dallas's
their-
problems start at
their-
the top.
Yes, absolutely.
Jerry needs to step down as general manager. He's a great owner, great CAO, but he needs to step down as general manager.
Absolutely.
He doesn't have the football prowess to.
This is the
draft properly.
guy who wanted to draft Johnny Manziel, knowing he would sit for at least 3 seasons.
And he came out and said he wanted to draft Johnny because of the publicity.
Yeah. Well,
You
why
know,
do you think they
but-
signed Michael Sam?
Exactly.
But hey, we're not talking about that right now. We're
No.
talking about the NFC South.
Look at you,
So
podcast over there.
I have to put it
Proud
up.
of you.
I have to say it's going to be between the Saints or the Panthers. I think
Remember what I told you, Perez. Remember what I told you.
you've told me a lot of things. I
Nobody
tend to just forget them.
since the inception of the division in 2002 has won the division back to back.
Yeah, but there's always the first time to break that run.
If you think so, go for it.
I think the Panthers, I think Cam Newton's ready to take that team to the next level. And he's been looking good in the offseason. He looked great last year. They got some awesome weapons. But the Saints have improved, and Drew Brees is an incredible quarterback. The problem with Drew Brees is that he tends to get interception happy. And there are times where he'll look like Eli Manning from last year, where he thought the defense was his offense. He doesn't just throw 1 or 2. He'll throw 4, 5, 6 in a row at times. And if he starts doing that, the Saints are going to be in trouble. But I'm going to go with the Saints.
Okay. Moving on to the NFC West, as we talked about, the Seattle Seahawks are the powerhouse out in that division, although there are the Rams, the Cardinals, and the 49ers. even after Thursday, even before Thursday, I thought the Seahawks were going to roll. I mean, they've played a lot of football in the past year, so I think it'll catch up with them at some point in time. But they'll be able to win the division, I think, easily.
I agree. Seattle, their core people are still intact for their defense.
And Russell Wilson's getting better.
Russell Wilson's getting better. Incidentally, I love how he conducts himself.
Yes.
I'm becoming more and more of a fan of Russell Wilson each time I see him. Marshawn Lynch, still in beast mode.
Yes.
Eventually that will catch up to him as well. 300 touches per year, that's a lot. But Seattle runs away with the division.
I agree.
Cool, so we can move on then.
Yes.
All right.
Moving on to the wild card, I've got the Packers because I think they'll be good, but not good enough to win the North. And then I've got I don't know why I was looking at the standings and I just had this feeling. I think the Falcons are going to take the second wild card because they're better than 4-12. That there's no secret there. There's a lot of talent on that offense. It's a lot of these teams we talk about that have struggled. It's the defense because we're in a passing league now. They've got a great quarterback, great running back. Great wide receivers. They don't have Tony Gonzalez anymore, but I don't think they're going to struggle too much without him. I think they're going to rebound after last season's tough year.
I think the 49ers are going to be a wild card team.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And I think the second one is either going to go to the Falcons or the Vikings.
See, I think the 49ers actually, you know what? I'll just let JC go first with his because I want to.
I'm very curious. The Vikings, really?
Yeah, I think they're going to show some people some stuff this year.
They've got Greg Jennings, Cordell Patterson, and Cordell. I think that's how you say his name. Cordero. That's what I knew I was saying wrong. Cordero Patterson, Greg Jennings, Matt Castle, who's not a great quarterback, but he's a good. I feel like he's a good game manager.
Right.
Like if you need 250 yards out of him, you can get it. But he's not going to be bombing it down the field.
No.
He'll do what he has to do. And he's got Adrian Peterson.
Right.
When you have a great running back, it can make a quarterback better.
That's true.
It all depends on the defense.
Right. All right. Well, my two picks were Atlanta. Okay. I had Atlanta because again they're better than much better than 4-12.
I guess.
Last year I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah. I guess my sleeper wasn't much of a sleeper pick. I was thinking I'm like digging up gold or something over here, and everyone's like, "No, the Falcons."
No, I agree. Atlanta had an off year. Matt Ryan's going to have a bounce back year. Matty Ice returns. And the second wild card team I have is the San Francisco 49ers because they are still, for the majority, they are still intact. I believe that the league is caught up to Colin Kaepernick. I think they know how to defend him now.
Well, it just so happens he got that nice fat contract, and there's been a lot of talk out of San Francisco how he's kind of just, the pressure's off, so he's like, I don't give a damn, whatever happens, happens.
Right. Which, we could kind of see with him.
You could say that the league is caught up with Colin Kaepernick, but the fact of the matter is, for his size, if he gets in the open field, there are not very many people in this league that can catch him.
Well, absolutely.
That dude can move.
See, the reason I didn't put the 49ers down is I honestly expect them to take a step back.
Because you're an idiot?
No. I honestly expect them. I expect them to take a step back. They've got some defensive suspensions. They've got they're without Alden Smith. I think is it 9 games he's gone. They're about to lose a defensive tackle. I mean, he's going to play tomorrow, but they're about to lose a defensive tackle because he beat his pregnant girlfriend.
Not smart.
Not smart at all. And with the new domestic,
he didn't listen to our podcast last week.
We got a lot of credit. We got to dole out some credit for that, man. We did some good work there.
We did.
NFL's about to pass a new drug policy thanks to Perez and Ryan.
Listen, Roger Goodell called me last week.
Listen, I'll tell you this way. You know why? You know how the NFL was able to hear it?
GearNetwork.com.
Because Gear Network is broadcast worldwide, ladies and gentlemen.
That's
cheap
right.
plug, ladies and gentlemen.
What's just cheap plug? Let's just hoard his place up with the cheap plug.
I'll say this right now. Spreaker,
iTunes,
Tune in,
iHeartRadio,
Stitcher,
GearNetwork.com.
That's right.
Except for there's only one podcast of the Better Live Than Dead podcast on GearNetwork.com, but we're not going to mention that.
Well, no, listen. On the actual blog page, all of them are up there.
I had to.
But they haven't. Yes.
We're everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. What we're trying to tell you is that we are everywhere.
Broadcast worldwide, ladies and
like
gentlemen.
Like a crazy girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, we are everywhere.
Well, Perez knows a thing or two about those.
Who doesn't? Well, yes, you're right. I do.
We're not going to get into that because we'll be here for a couple days.
But yes, the commissioner called me up and he said, Perez, listen, we heard the podcast, and you're correct. Our policies are out of whack. We need to make some changes. So I'd like to thank you personally and Ryan to let them know that we are going to make those changes because of what you said and the wisdom that you guys bring to the airwaves.
And for President, he promised us that both the Bills and Cowboys would suck really bad this season.
Well, the Bills are going to suck horribly.
Shut up, Perez.
It's a true story.
I'm about to get like one of them boards and just have a button just to shut up, Perez. Just hit it all the time. Anyways, I'm kidding.
Hey, okay, so
America, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome because people are listening and making changes based on what we're saying.
I know. We're
Can you repeat exactly what Roger Goodell said in that conversation?
He said, Perez, we listened to what you were saying, and you are correct. We're going to make changes. Why you doubting me? You need
okay,
to stop.
I want to bring it back around full circle, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to come back full circle.
I'll come back full circle. Okay, we got Mr. Wonderful over here.
I'm taking credit.
This podcast break is brought to you by Mr. Wonderful.
We're taking full credit. I don't care.
We can take full credit. I think the Rams.
I'm sorry. I'm bringing my slapstick
fine.
humor here.
You're fine.
I'm
It's
sorry.
okay. It's
So
okay.
the fact of the matter is this:
we're not used
we
to it.
said something and it was changed.
You know, it's we obviously we're not the ones that caused the change. It's been in the works, but it feels good.
No, it was us.
It feels good when we sit here and talk for 45 minutes, and then Monday rolls around and they're like, "Yep, we're going to change the drug policy."
Oh, I agree.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
That's why we do podcasting. That's why we make crazy claims in this podcast, because when they come true, we're like, "Yeah, guess what? I was right the whole time." I think the St. Louis Rams could have contended with Sam Bradford, maybe because their defense is so good.
But he's done.
And Sean Hill is going to be their quarterback, who's a game manager at best.
I think he's done. I don't think he's coming back.
He's not coming back to St. He's not coming back to St. Louis. He may get a backup job and prove him like Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez may end up playing quarterback again in the National Football League. Funny that I mentioned it because JC's got his Mark Sanchez jersey on, and
That's
Mark
right.
Sanchez also said, "Do not trade me to the Rams," because his offensive coordinator who ruined his career, Brian Schottenheimer, is the offensive coordinator of the St. Louis Rams.
True story.
Indeed.
Good for Mark Sanchez. Backup Nick Foles is the best thing for you. But their defense is great. Their offense is too suspect.
Get a guy a haircut, Sanchez.
That's why I'm not going with them. But like I said, I've just got a feel. I could be wrong. I got a feeling though that the 49ers are going to regress just enough to let the Packers and Falcons sneak in. Now, we're going to go to a bit of a lightning round here, and it's because we're headed to the AFC champions and the NFC champions. Now, in the AFC championship game, I've got the Broncos and the Pats. Obviously, the Broncos winning because I don't think up to that point they can be stopped. Perez, don't look at me like that. You know what we're talking about.
No, I agree with you. I think your pick is spot on.
Okay.
And I think the Broncos are going to win that game.
Okay.
It's either one of two scenarios.
And again, real quick, I do apologize. I didn't say games. I just said pick a winner. But as I started doing it, my mind was like,
It's all good.
these are going to be the guys.
I as well have Denver and New England.
Okay.
But I can easily see Denver and Indianapolis. The one consistent is Denver. I do see Denver in there, and I do see Denver advancing to the Super Bowl.
The NFC Championship game, I've got the Saints and the Seahawks. And like I mentioned earlier,
Get out of my head.
We're just smart. Hey, we're smart guys. Let's pound it out. We're smart guys. But here's the thing. Here's the one thing that I've got with the Seahawks. And again, the Broncos, yes, they played as many games as late as the Seahawks did. But I just think the Broncos got that much better this year where they are going to be unstoppable. But I think for some reason when I was doing this at work, I just feel that the Saints are going to beat the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. I don't know why. Again, it's like the Falcons pick. I just sat there and said, you know what?
You just have a premonition.
Just got a feeling. And I think the Saints are going to beat the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game to set up a Broncos-Saints Super Bowl.
I have the Seahawks against the San Francisco 49ers, with the Seahawks winning and going to the Super Bowl.
Well, as I clearly stated, I have New Orleans and Seattle. And again, you're in my head, damn you. I have New Orleans over Seattle. Now, I say this not because of any one person or the other. Drew Brees. I say this because I think at that point in time, if Seattle cruises along like they're expected to, if they keep making the whole mention of they've only lost one home game in the past 2 years and blah, 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 whatever. By the time they get to
the
playoffs, so they get to their home field at the NFC Championship, and Drew Brees comes in, who's made a career out of defying the odds. I think just his experience is going to conquer the Seattle Seahawks. They're going to get tired.
And if it's in Seattle too, you got to figure Drew Brees has got to make up for that game where the Seahawks made him look like an absolute fool in Seattle when this whole thing started.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The Seahawks when they beat him when Marshawn Lynch had the earthquake touchdown.
But I have Denver and New Orleans.
All right, now gentlemen, I want to hear your Super Bowl champion picks.
Go ahead, John.
Denver.
I'm going to have to say Denver.
I'm going with the Saints. Again, I don't know why.
Really?
I'll tell you what. Seeing the way that the Broncos played last year in the Super Bowl, I mean they were completely outmatched. They had the better team on paper, but that's just on paper. Seattle's defense was able to shut down Denver. Seattle's offense obviously did enough to win the game. And I just got to throw this in there, subtle jab. Obviously, because Peyton Manning can't win the big game.
He has won the big game
once
though.
In a rainstorm against the shitty Chicago Bears.
He won it once, and I think the Super Bowl last year showed him where he was lacking. I think it embarrassed him.
You're like a personal motivator for Peyton Manning.
It pissed him off.
Are you the advocate for Peyton? You are to Peyton Manning what Paul Heyman is to Brock Lesnar. Seriously.
Yes, that's right. I am the manager now.
The advocate.
The manager of champions, Mr. Perez, has reached out to Peyton Manning to tell him if he needs a little motivation, I got it for him.
Did he call you?
He called me.
He did.
He did.
Everybody calls.
Everyone calls me. Come on, you don't know this by now?
You know what's funny is I've known you for like 5 or 6 years, or maybe even longer. I've never called you.
You
called
text
me.
me.
I've never called you.
You text me.
You know,
Okay, he called you. What did he say?
He said hi. But so I think Peyton has something to prove, and
Absolutely.
when Peyton has something to prove, he is an extremely dangerous quarterback.
But you know how he's going to prove that? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you know how he's going to prove that?
By shutting people down.
He's going to break all the records he broke last year.
Well, yeah, he is.
And they're going to go 14-2, 15-1. I'm not saying they're going to go 16-0 because that's ridiculous. It'll never happen. But they'll be the best team in football. They'll get all the hype. They'll get the tires pumped, and they'll get the shine
But see,
up.
I think last year they bought into it. I don't think they're going to buy into it this year. I think Peyton's going to keep them level-headed, and they're going to get to the Super Bowl.
Just because
they're going to do their things, and he's going to get his second ring.
I tell you what,
He wants to make Archie proud.
I'm gonna say this.
For those of you who don't know, that's his father.
Indeed. I have the
It's all about-
Broncos.
it's all
I have
about
the
the Manning
Broncos.
phase.
I have the Broncos as well. To his point, anybody that's returning to this Broncos team from last year's Broncos team, if they're put in that position again, they're going to remember it.
Yep.
They're going to remember the embarrassment. They're going to remember how they feel. So maybe they will not be buying into their own hype.
Right.
Like the mothership, a.k.a. the worldwide leader, a.k.a. the Entertainment and Sports Programming Network.
ASPN.
They're the hype machines that they are.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that from that aspect, and having Coach Manning as your quarterback, he's going to make sure that everybody stays level-headed. The thing is, I don't see the Saints. The Saints aren't going to go down without a fight. Their offense is going to match up with their offense. The downfall for the New Orleans Saints will be the same thing that's going to help them, their defense, because of Rob Ryan. Rob Ryan's defense is great. The Jets have a Ryan as a head coach.
Right.
We know what the Ryan's defense is all about. Buddy Ryan, Rob Ryan, Rex Ryan.
They're just not really good at coaching a football team.
But the fact of the matter is when Rob Ryan's defense gets steamrolled, Rob Ryan gets flustered.
Yep.
Big time.
Yes.
Gets big time flustered, starts getting all over the place, yelling, screaming, defense doesn't know what they're doing. That's what's going to happen.
Yes.
Peyton will see, not Sean Payton, Peyton Manning will pick it apart. And the Denver Broncos.
I just think Sean Payton's too good of a head coach to.
He's a great head coach.
And again, speaking about the Cowboys, the biggest mistake the Cowboys made was letting him go.
Absolutely.
But and then when they tried to get him back, they screwed that up too. Anyways, I think Sean Payton's too good of a coach, and Drew Brees is too good of a quarterback to pass his opportunity up. But not saying anything about Peyton Manning or John Fox, but I just think that, when a team's, because last year, same thing. We all year long, we talked about the Broncos, that the Broncos are going to win the Super Bowl. It's a foregone conclusion. Cancel the season, plan the parade, give them a trophy. And then the Seahawks showed up and said, no, we're not having that. I think that's going to be the Saints this season. Because all year it's going to be a hype machine, like JC said, all year long. They're through for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns. They were going to win the Super Bowl.
I don't think it's going to be a hype machine so much for Peyton Manning as much as it's going to be when is Johnny Manziel going to come off the bench in Cleveland, because that's ESPN's new love.
When will Michael Sam shower again with teammates, and will he shower by himself?
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
Why don't we watch ESPN anymore, ladies and gentlemen? Those are the reasons why.
I watch Fox Sports 1.
Me too. It's a great show.
I watch
great
ESPN.
Channel.
And Fox Sports 1.
Perez, you're fired. I'm kidding.
All right, Vince.
I know I did this kind of half-assed, but most valuable player of the league. Who you got? Last question.
Peyton Manning.
Drew Brees.
As you can tell, I'm
Drew Brees' thing on his face.
Okay.
His birthmark? What's wrong with a birthmark?
I don't think that can win the Super Bowl.
I think it's going to win the MVP.
If it grew an arm, though, it's like I said, Happy Gilmore, it would bring the people. It would be a golfer with an arm growing out of his ass.
I think Peyton's going to win it.
Okay. I got Drew Brees. I mean, that's just
I
that.
said, I think Drew Brees.
Just like I said, it all makes sense in my head. I actually crossed out Drew Brees, wrote down Peyton Manning, and said because the Denver's offense seemed too good, and then I crossed that back out and said Drew Brees because I just feel like a man on a mission. When last year they had a good team. They could have won the Super Bowl last year, but they just fell apart.
EJ Manuel's going to win it.
JC, how would you like to be my new co-host on the Better Live Than Dead podcast?
I would. No.
You're supposed to go along with the joke. Come on.
Okay. Then
Damn it.
yes.
Okay, cool. Anyways, you've just heard our predictions. We're probably going to come back to this and cut clips out of it and make fun of ourselves here in a few short months. That's what this podcast is for.
Mm-hmm. I'm making. Listen, I'm putting my foot down as the CEO of this here network. After the Super Bowl, we all meet up.
Okay.
We all discuss what we had,
and then what went wrong,
and then what went wrong,
right?
And why we suck so bad, and why we should be fired.
No.
I'm not going to fire myself.
We can't fire. We can't really. We're not technically getting paid, so we can't really get fired.
Listen, man, that's a low blow.
Believe me, I'll tell you what. Perez and I have already discussed this on the podcast before. I would rather not get paid to do this than get paid to do something else because this is a lot of fun. It's our 4th episode, and it's
and by something else he meant. Never mind.
Oh,
we can't. Well, I was going to mention another thing, but I'm trying to keep peace over here.
All right. Very good.
I'm trying to keep peace over here. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, the man to my left in the real life.
You know what? I need to say something real quick.
Go ahead.
Why do you always have to do that?
Hold
Every
on a
time I go
second.
to close the thing out,
Hold
you
on a
always interrupt
second.
me.
I just want to point this out. Ever since I did the intro for the podcast with my ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Perez. Whenever we go to close the show, go listen to last week. Ryan says ladies and gentlemen like 5 times.
We always do it.
You took it. You're saying it.
I do.
Stop it. That's me.
You want to know why? My podcast. I do what I want.
I don't care.
Okay, anyways.
I'm gonna copyright that.
Gentlemen and women listening to the podcast, gentlemen and women.
Chicas and chicos.
I don't speak your language. I can't.
What do you
my
mean
language.
your language?
I'm kidding. Come on now.
That's just like saying you people.
Exactly.
What do you mean, you people?
Listen, I'm half Puerto Rican, which makes me half minority, which means I got the okay to say it.
I'm a quarter.
Half of the time.
I'm a 1/4%.
You've never
Indian.
seen Days of Thunder?
Yes, I have.
Not Days of Thunder. Tropical Thunder.
Yes.
He's like, what do you mean, people? You people? what do you mean, you people?
Huh?
Me llamo pizza. Okay.
Your name's Pizza.
Yes, correct.
Really?
Listen, pizza. Are we going to a commercial break?
We are going to. I was trying before Mr. Perez so rudely interrupted me. I was going to refresh the interview and throw your Twitter handle out there.
Oh yes, it is.
To my left, ladies and gentlemen,
He's trying to end the show.
Is John, also known as JC Money, at the JC Money on Twitter, the CEO, president, head guy, boss of the Gear Network, the man who makes this all possible. has joined us today. And you know what? We're going to send it to commercial break right now, and we're going to come back because JC has a special announcement to make
I do.
on who his guest for next week's Talking Wrestling.
It's not next week.
Next week. When it will be?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. See, I don't even know.
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now. Well, you said next week when you texted me. So 2 weeks from now. Come back after the commercial break, and we will have that.
This free and independent sportscast is made possible when you shop the Gear Network store through Amazon. Visit GearNetwork.com and click on the Amazon banner to shop through Amazon's thousands of products at great prices delivered right to your front door. Again, that's GearNetwork.com and click the Amazon banner at the top.
Wrestling fans, this is JC Money here, and I want to talk wrestling with you. That's right. I want to talk WWE with you. I want to talk indies with you. I want to talk WWE 2K video games. I want to talk anything wrestling with you because we are talking wrestling with JC Money. Thursdays on the Gear Radio Network.
This is Mark House, and you're listening to Better Live Than Dead, exclusively on the Gear Radio Network.
Well, welcome back to the Better... I'm going to try that again. I stuttered. Welcome back to the Better Live Than Dead podcast. Joined
Welcome back.
by Mr. Perez, by
Hi.
JC Money, at the JC Money on the tweets. Mr. Money.
Yes.
Mr. JC.
Can I say it now?
Please take over what you need to say.
Persimmon to
Ladies
say
and
it
gentlemen,
now.
a special announcement by
You are
JC
allowed.
Money.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Perez, hit us with it. Hit us with it. Hit us with it.
Never do that again.
Hit us with it. Hit us with
Never,
it.
seriously, never do that again.
Fine.
Okay. As those of us
I
know,
feel like a prisoner in my own podcast.
Oh, come on now. All right. Last week's episode of Talking Wrestling was the quote-unquote season finale. I did the whole Monday Night Raw gimmick there. Next week, we are off. The week after that, on Thursday, September the 18th,
September the
September.
18th.
Talking Wrestling with JC Money and Mark House
Talking wrestling.
will be interviewing
Interviewing?
The one.
the only former WWE superstar Kurt Hawkins will be the guest on Talking Wrestling with JC Money and Mark House. Again, that is in 2 weeks on the Gear Radio Network.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, thank you.
That'll be a lot of fun.
It will be.
Make sure
Freshly released.
Make sure you ask him about Zack Ryder.
I
I know they're good friends.
I will not.
Why? I thought I had some pull here. Apparently I don't.
You pull my finger.
How'd you get a hold of him?
I got
The
connections, man.
interwebs.
Listen, I know people that hurt people.
Oh, so you know me.
I was about to say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you didn't hook it up. But,
Right, no.
but
Not
yeah,
this time.
But yes.
I don't get calls from wrestlers. I get calls from everyone else.
I had Antonio Thomas a week ago, and now 2 weeks from now we're gonna have Kurt Hawkins is gonna be great, and more to come.
And obviously it's a good enough show because I'm telling you to listen to it. Duh. And you should be able to know by now that it is an awesome show.
Can I just say that Chip Stetson, if you're listening to this, you still hold the highest hit count, and that's even over Antonio Thomas, who is closely coming to your
It
numbers.
means you're doing something right.
Yes.
Perez just
Good
looked,
talk, Perez.
Perez just looked really confused there for a second.
He's all confused.
We both look at him for a comment, and he's like,
Yes.
"Sure, whatever. I'm not listening." That's Talking Wrestling, GearNetwork.com. As we mentioned before, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker Radio. There's so many. TuneIn Radio. I had the list in my head, and then you kept...
Pretty much just go anywhere, type in Gear Radio Network, and we'll pop up.
It's great because I had the list in my head because I did a couple commercials. I had the list in my head, and I ran it off, and then you texted me, and you were like, we got a new one, and then I just forgot them all.
Nice. Good job, Ryan.
I just want to say thank you to Perez,
Yo, thank you, sir.
as usual, for being here.
No
JC
problem.
for joining us.
Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it. And the show is definitely a good show, and I like where it's going. So keep it up, guys. And thank you for being on the Gear Network. Seriously, that's from the heart.
Thank you for having us, seriously, because we've been
You're
trying
welcome.
to make a podcast happen for a while, and we kept hitting dead ends and dead ends and dead ends. And you said, "Let's make a podcast," and I said, "I know who to call." And I called Perez. I didn't call him. I texted him. As we
You
mentioned
texted
before,
me.
we don't call each other.
I don't like talking on the phone.
He told me one
It's
day.
legendary.
he
People know
texted me-
this.
After a podcast, he texted me and said, "Yo, can I call you in a little bit?" And I said, "Holy shit, what's going on? Is something wrong?" He goes, "No, I just want to talk." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was really scared.
Listen, the true story before we go here. I called him the other day when I was at the Bowler's World to get a new bowling ball. And I called him because I was trying to remember the name of the bowling ball that we had.
We had the same bowling ball.
And he couldn't remember.
I couldn't.
I couldn't remember.
I use it
He
all the
couldn't
time. I couldn't remember it.
So I was like, okay, I'll see you later. Boom, okay. I think he must have remembered because he called back in like 10 minutes. But I'm like,
No, I texted you and said they know who I am there, so have them look up my information.
yes, but you called either that or it was a butt dial.
I then called you back to tell you to come pick up a cigar. Oh, no, that was another time.
Yeah, no, that
Never
was
mind.
another time.
Yeah. I'm a cigar guy. I love cigars.
Perez is the everything man. If you want something, just call Perez because he knows someone.
Yes, I'm going to recycle the Beyond the Dead. Wow,
Beyond the Smoke.
Beyond the Smoke commercial because the original Beyond the Smoke commercial had beginning this summer in the Gear Radio Network.
Yeah, we recycled that.
Yeah, I'm going to recycle it till next summer.
I'm actually going to talk to you about changes I'd like to make to that.
Wait, this is the Better Live Than Dead podcast. We'll talk about that afterwards.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
I feel like we've gone very long.
We
today.
have.
We have. People will listen, though.
I'm
They'll
in,
like
trouble.
us.
listen.
I'm in trouble at home.
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
My voice is sexy. They'll listen.
I got to fart.
Anyways, I'm sitting
You
across
always
from
have to
Mr. Sitting
fart.
across from Mr. Perez, the co-host. To my left, JC Money, the host of Talking Wrestling. I almost said Beyond the Wrestling for some reason. I'm
That's a
I'm
completely
getting all
different
messed
show.
up over here. Talking Wrestling on the Gear Radio Network. CEO, president, boss, like I said, everything, the everything man at the Gear Radio Network. I'm Ryan Wolf. You gentlemen,
I am Mr. Perez.
you gentlemen are not, and you people in the radio land are not. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Tune in next week. Hopefully we'll be back if we have not been arrested or beaten to death by somebody. We will be here, same time, same place. Thanks again for joining us.
So long,
Adios.
everybody. Good night now.
Tune in.
Bye.
GERENetwork.com. Also, iTunes, search Gear Network, GERE Network, and subscribe.